Hello, one and all. Welcome, willkommen, bienvenue. Hello to all my friends out there in La La Land. May I introduce you to my dear friend Christiane Ebert, the self-titled Pilates queen. Actually, she's more of a life coach than just a Pilates queen. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about overcoming self-induced obstacles. And I think it is the modern disease, as I refer to it, this concept of imposter syndrome, of feeling that you don't know what you're doing, and therefore you're standing in your own way. You're scared to actually do something.
Yeah, but it's also, as it says so nicely, self-induced. We self-induced that imposter syndrome, didn't we? And even if it's not always directly our fault, we're taking it on. And when I actually said to you, I want to talk to you about that, it was all about, if I thought about my life, and I recently moved into my own place a week and a half ago.
Which I cannot tell you has been the making of you. If I know we're talking off topic, I've got to tell you guys, sometimes just by changing your environment can lift your mood and change your outlook. Am I right?
Yeah, very much so. So I just need to get a step back so that we get to into why I call it self-induced obstacles, even if you're not part of it. Now, I had almost 30 years of abusive relationships. Some are very violently domestic and some are very violently emotional. Not really sure always what was the worst part.
I hear that they're pretty much as terrible as each other in many ways. And I have to say that, dare I say it, without knowing the full detail, that if you are prone to one, you'll be prone to the other. You'll be, you can find yourself falling into yet another one of these.
Yeah. And I mean, if you talk to psychologists, they will make it into some big thing, bubble thing, so that it comes from your childhood and with your dad and whatsoever and so on. Now, we as life coaches take that differently because we are not looking back, we're just looking forward. So
absolutely,
helping you to have the situation you have now and understanding where you are now, and then finding the answers which are already within you. Well, I have to find the questions for it, to which are moving you forward without tearing the plaster off all the time. However, you cannot go forward without actually looking sometimes backwards. And if it's just, like I said the other day here, and I thought, okay, now I'm sitting here, I had no internet yet, I couldn't teach yet, and so on, and I sat here in my own flat and think, okay, here I am now, all on my own, and what I'm going to do with myself now. And it was for the third time that I've moved into my own place, where I actually had to get used to it, to be with myself and actually answer some questions for myself. How did I get here? Why wasn't I here earlier? What are the self-induced obstacles I created which didn't make me move earlier? One of them is anxiety of being alone, anxiety that we are not good enough, so I won't earn enough money to pay for that. People won't like me, and I'm too big, too tall, too fat, and too gray, or whatever. We have a whole list all the time. Previously, it was that I was told all the time that I belong in the gutters, that I'm not good enough, and as soon as I popped my head up again, I got beaten it down again. So I needed to crawl out of that. But that was a process. And I think that is what I wanted to talk about, is that these overcoming self-induced obstacles, to overcome them is a process. And one of them, a very major part of that, is self-care, and actually really listening to yourself, what you need right now. And I've never been very good at it. I was always much better in preaching than in doing it.
This is an old story. This is an old story.
Yeah, like the shoemaker's kids never have shoes, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And also, for the first time, that I'm actually in a place where it's just me, and I actually yeah, I can arrange my place how I want it. I've been 2.5 years living with my daughter, which was lovely, but wasn't fair on her anymore. But now I had the opportunity to live in my place. And now, on top of it, I was very sick. So I was actually forced to, I have to admit, I was forced to do some self-care. But for the first time, I actually, for 1 week, because I had no internet, I actually had to be with myself. I had to think about how I'm going to move forward. How did I get here? Why didn't I get earlier get here? And you start beating you up. Why didn't you get earlier there? So again, we're shoveling more shit on top of it. So, so that because we do that, so should we then succeed in what we set out to do,
Yes.
then, oh my word, oh no, I can't do that because that means I have to succeed the next time as well. And so you will, if you putting the right steps into place, but not if you donating shit on top of your head all the time again and punishing yourself of why you're not being that way 2 years ago or 3 years ago, or why you're not rich.
Well, why you're not rich, I think that rich is only a process, and also you can be rich transitorily and then suddenly not be rich anymore. It's a process. But what I would say
is rich, in my opinion, is also not necessarily money. Rich means also that you're happy and self-content.
Oh,
and
that's the real rich. That's the real rich.
So that you're actually content within yourself. You don't worry about other people judging you. You don't worry about in your business also what other people think about you, because only then will you actually be really successful. And because you're starting, and we go always back to it, because we're starting loving ourselves with our faults and with everything we have. And
I think there are the thing is, there are the known knowns. We know about them, so we know how to deal with them. Then there are known unknowns. We sort of know about them, but we haven't yet described or been able to discover how long, how large, how wide.
Yeah.
But the ones that really scare people and the ones that stop people taking action are the unknown unknowns. That's the stuff that we're truly scared of, and we're scared to move out of our comfort zone just in case the unknown unknown come and bite us on the arse.
And we're finding coping mechanisms. If we're finding coping mechanisms to actually go forward, which we're not really doing. In my case, it was anorexia, so eating disorders, and hiding. I'm an expert in hiding, and until you actually figure that out, what you've really been doing. And some people say journaling is a good idea, but also it's what is a really good idea. Have you ever noticed when you feel down in the dump or something is bugging you, you're telling that story over and over and over and over again to your friends and people, even if they don't want to hear it, until you told it enough that it's out of your system. And by that stage, your friend's been sick and tired of it, but you need to reach that point first where you say, okay, now I don't need to tell it anymore. And you do this unconsciously. So a very good way, as well as to reflect on what you have been doing, is recording your voice. On every phone has a voice note, yes. And just recording it and playing it back to you. Then you don't have to tell it 100 times. You get sick and tired of hearing that story of yours soon enough. And it's also because you're hearing your own voice. And I find that this is an extremely good, I think I've got on my phone from the last 10 years voice notes still. And I need to somehow delete them. But I found it an extremely good way. And you can listen to them back while you do the dishes or whatever. But just that, because at one stage it will make click. And you thought, really? That's not what we're going on about. That's not who I am.
I think when you hear yourself whining about something, I've made a solid decision, because I broke out of a very unpleasant business relationship with my ex-business partner. That was last year in November. And I put up with bullying and narcissism and constantly gaslighting me and making me feel small. And I'd been moaning to my friends and my colleagues about, and I suddenly realized, my wife actually helped me realize, she said, you have the capability of doing something about it, but only you. Everybody else can make you feel better about yourself. Oh, Gareth, you're not this terrible person. You are. That's not the point. You can make a change. And once you've made that change, it will feel like a breath of fresh air. And I did make the change. I literally created another company. I moved to that. And some of my clients came with me, thank goodness. But the point about it was, as soon as I stopped moaning. I stopped wanting to moan. What I realized was my story had changed. My story was no longer about poor me, I'm stuck in this relationship, but how great it is to feel the relief from escaping that and getting to this new position, which if it go full circle, here you are now, away from feeling like you're encumbering somebody else, feeling like there's that unseen pressure on you that you should be something, or away, you should be something, or act something, or find something that you know, whether you like it or not. And now you are self-driven, and look at you, you're glowing now, if I may say so. You could see it. It was we've done a lot of talking together, Christiane and I, and although she's great at helping other people, unfortunately, there was one person that was kind of being left alone out of that equation, and that was her. Now she's finally taken some of her own advice, and look at you. You are a different person, I think.
Yeah, I feel a different person. I'm still getting used to it, but also what I want to say quickly to it, why it meant for me, a coach made for me the difference. I've seen umpteen psychologists or PTSD about domestic violence and so on. And every time it was going backwards, and you got to work through it again and again and again. And then here's to pay the money and I'll see you next week. And honestly, isn't it like that? You know, you come back and they pull the plaster off again.
I know. Pull the plaster off. Let's go straight back into the wound. Let's bring it all out to the surface.
Exactly. Now tell me another section of your childhood or teenage years or something like this.
Sure.
Surely that must be now solving it. But the point is not solving anything, because and it's not bringing you forward. Now, I don't want to say that for some people, psychologists are absolutely amazing, and there are amazing psychologists out there. But for me, the point, I still have a coach, and everybody, I think, should have a coach, because what does a coach do when you are on the soccer field, or on the cricket field, or in Pilates even? I had a coach, a mentor for Pilates for many, many years. And for any sport you're doing, you automatically have a coach. You know, if you're in swimming, you have a coach, otherwise you're going to drown. And so that is the same in your life and in your business life, whatever your love life, general relations. I work with people together who have, out of that reason, a lot of their history, a lot of problems with their parents or with their mothers, especially women, or people who are stuck, and actually, you know, children gone to university, and what am I going to do with myself now? I'm going to eat and sit in front of the TV all day. And but they're not really getting there where they want to be. And that's where a coach helped me much better, because you're only moving forward. A swimming coach is not going back after the first month and say, okay, now show me what you did in the first lesson. You know, I mean, honestly, it's like, so you're moving forward, even if you have to talk, and you have to think, and you have to think about your past from time to time. But the only vision we are having is to get you to the goal of moving forward. And there's another thing I want to say is about people. What people often achieve with psychologists is a codependence, and I think that is a very, very dangerous thing. I have that often with people with their relationships and the codependence and so on, and the toxic relationships, and they're codependent on each other. But when you're codependent on your counselor, therapist, even your coach or something like that, then you're in the wrong relationship with the wrong person. And so that is, I find that is actually a really, really, because you feel you need to go all the time back, you're achieving nothing, but you're just drawn to that person. You need that person to survive your week. And unless you really have serious mental issues where you actually need to talk with a psychiatrist and so on, and then that is another totally another story. But if you, for example, want to move forward and reconfigure yourself or something like that, there's absolutely no reason why you should have a codependency. The only codependency you should have is with yourself.
So I've just, before we finish up, a good friend and client, Claire Gibson, has just dropped you 3 words, which I want you to see. Very wise lady.
Thank you. That made my day.
There you go. So look, once again, we do this weekly. The idea is we do talk about topics, some of which are uncomfortable, some of which are fun, but the idea is to stir up your responses. So thank you very much, Claire. It's lovely to know that you're watching. And if anybody else feels like they want to talk to Christiane, please find her, Christiane Ebert, Pilates Queen, on LinkedIn. Literally type those words in, you'll find her. She's straight there. You'll see her with the glasses and the hair. There she is. Please don't hesitate to be in contact with her, or if you want to find more information about it. And by the way, Claire is a long trained coach herself, and she says from one coach to another and sends you her love, which is lovely. It's always nice when people that respect you absolutely show that, and thank you so much, Claire. So until next week, remember, keep it locked. Christiane and I cover a lot of interesting topics, and hopefully one that will hopefully stir the imagination. So until then, goodbye to everyone. Bye bye now.